I'm Hope, and I always thought I could do it by myself. I've always been a very stubborn and defiant person, and I always thought I could do everything on my own, and that I didn't need anyone else. And I think it's only over the past couple months I'm starting to realize I may have been wrong. I didn't have what we called an easy childhood. My parents got divorced when I was a toddler, my mum was really ill when I was in year 2, and my dad moved to Australia when I was 7, along with my stepmom and 2 brothers, and is still there now. And the way I chose to cope with all these things was by bottling up. Bottling it up made it easier, and it made it so I could forget everything that was going on around me. And that meant I felt in control. For once, I felt in control of my own life and what would happen to me. And I thought as long as I was in control, I would never be vulnerable again, and nothing bad would happen to me. I would always want to do everything without help. I remember this one time, I was in year 1. My teacher set a challenge that whoever could learn to tie their tie first would get 5 team points. Now, even back then, team points did not mean a great deal to me. But anyone who knows me will know I'm a pretty competitive person. So of course I rushed home and tried to learn how to tie my tie. My stepdad kept trying to offer to help me, but I was determined to do it on my own. And I think at about 11 p.m. that night, after a lot of perseverance, I could finally tie my own tie. Now, I went to school, and I was indeed the first one to have learned to tie their tie, which I was very happy about. But it seemed I had forgotten about a pretty big spelling test, which I flunked because I was trying not to fall asleep, because 11 p.m. is pretty late for a 5-year-old. Now, I know it sounds petty, but if I'd accepted the help that was offered to me, maybe I would have been the first one to tie my tie and a good spelling score. Now, obviously, I'm not doing my talk on tying a tie or spelling tests, because who cares about spelling tests, right? But I am giving my talk on asking for help. Now, I'm not going to say you can't do things on your own without help, because I think it's so important to trust yourself enough and to have enough self-belief to stand on your own and be independent. But I am going to say, I think when you get help, you can do bigger and better things. Asking for help can be a lot, and I mean a lot harder than people may think. When you ask for help, you give control to the other person, and you're left being very vulnerable to the situation around you. And I think that's why people shy away from asking for help. We all have that voice inside our head, telling us not to be vulnerable, our own little control freak. I lived by the rules of my own little control freak until a couple of months after I came to JAGS. And that's when I realized that maybe for the first time, I had an entire community of people that truly cared about me and would always help me when they could. So slowly but surely, I started breaking my own little control freak's rules. Now, it is very fair to say that sometimes I did not let my emotions out in the right way, at all. But we all make mistakes, and admittedly mine was quite a big one. But I learned from it, and I learned more about myself and about the people around me from it. I've met some people at JAGS I never thought I'd be lucky enough to have in my life. My amazing friends who will stick by me through thick and thin, just like I would for them. But also, and I know this may sound odd coming from a year 8, but the teachers who have helped me more than they know and have given me so much self-belief and have pushed my limits beyond what I ever thought they could be. One of my favourite quotes is, "Be strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and brave enough to ask for it." This quote sums up exactly what I'm trying to say. It is beyond important to stand on your own and maybe be the different one, or the wrong one, or just to do your own thing. But I think I'm finally learning that being smart enough to know when you need help is just as important, and that being brave enough to ask for it is downright terrifying, but maybe the most important one of all. There's one person that I trust more than I think I've ever trusted anyone before. But even when I go to them and go, you know what, I may need a bit of help here, I still get so nervous and I get butterflies every time I do it. But I do it anyway. And they give me the best advice, and I'm left feeling like I can conquer the world. And as another one of my favorite quotes goes, if you're scared, it means you're about to do something really, really brave. And I agree. If you're scared, dig deep, because probably what you're about to do is really courageous. It will help to take you to bigger and better places. And anyway, I believe that asking for help in our world today is a great sign of strength and character. When you ask for help, you're admitting you're vulnerable and you need assistance. And I think there can be great beauty in vulnerability. Being able to trust someone so much you can be vulnerable in front of them is a pretty amazing thing. And it's important to have a support system, because you need someone to fall back on in times of hardship. Because asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. Now, without realizing it, We all put ourselves out there every single day, and we're all vulnerable. If a teacher asks a question, you put your hand up. That's you being vulnerable, accepting that it's all right to be wrong. Asking for help is the same kind of concept. The first step, putting your hand up, is the hardest. But even if you're wrong, you'll get the help you need, and you'll be greater for it. We all face challenges. Some you can see, but most you can't. Now, I'd like you all to try and picture someone with a mental illness. What do they look like? What kind of background have they come from? What kind of upbringing have they had? Now, I'm going to bet you can't, because a mental illness, along with people who are struggling to figure out who they are, or people who are just having a really tough time at home, are people you can't stereotype, because they're things you can't see. And because you can't see them, people may not offer the help you need. So you need to ask for it, because no one can tell what's going on inside your head. No one's that clever. We aren't perfect, and everyone is scared, and we have no idea what we're doing. We're all just trying to get our step in. And you'd be surprised how many people are just winging it. So it's important to not be ashamed to reach out for help, because 99% of the time you need help, I'm pretty sure it's not your fault you do. It's just life's knocks and punches being thrown your way. And as I said earlier, asking for help is so brave. But remember that you don't know what people have had thrown at them either. So look out for everyone. If someone does something a bit weird, don't put it down to them seeking for attention. And even if you do, have you ever thought why that person might need attention? They might be going through some really tough stuff that they just don't know how to ask for help with. And you never know. You may ask someone for help and they may be in the exact same situation as you. And then whatever it is, you can face it together. And I promise it's a lot less scary when you have someone helping you along the way. Past the surface, none of us are what you can see. And we can never fully know someone. But with empathy, bravery, and understanding, we can support one another. And we should always revert to doing this, because help is what makes our society great. I have a friend, and she's been my best friend for as long as I can remember. But a couple of years ago, she went through some really tough stuff that no one our age should have to go through. And it's very fair to say she took her emotions out in the wrong way. And she didn't tell anyone, so none of us noticed. But finally she got the courage to tell someone, and she's getting the help she needs, and she's greater for it. To end, I just wanted to say that I always thought I could do everything on my own. And that I didn't need anyone else, because it was how I'd always been. It was my life, so why should anyone else know about it? But I proved myself wrong, and so did everyone else that helped me along the way, because our society is great and will help you when you need it. Everyone who's helped me has taught me it's all right to be wrong, and that being vulnerable is not a bad thing. And I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't believe it. I realise this talk may sound repetitive, but I can't stress enough how important it is to ask for help if you need it, but also that it's all right to be scared, and nearly everyone is. I certainly was. So pick up the phone, call a friend or family, or even someone like Childline, just anyone you trust, because asking for help is nothing to be ashamed of. And when we ask for help, we all improve, and we all deserve to get the help we need, because then we can become the best we can be. Thank you for listening.